Hey guys, and welcome to another Wilderness Rejuvination II discussion video. I just thought it was quite important to actually make another one, considering that in the last video, one of the main points that I started off with was about the loot key scroll, and how I thought that that would be very difficult as a solo player because you wouldn't get to pick up the loot and resupply mid-trip in the wildy. Someone pointed out to me on Reddit that I had missed the point about it being toggleable, so that's fine. I mean, you can choose to use it or not. That makes it a bit more acceptable. I still feel like it kind of favours the clans a bit more because they can kind of camp areas for much longer before they have to bank, especially if they do use ults to kind of resupply on food. But anyway, so let's get into the poll here. So it has actually gone live at this point, and I'm just looking at the results. So we're starting off with the Chaos Altar. If you ask me, this first question sounds like a good idea. You know, getting extra XP for burying these bones, or in fact actually just like getting a 50% chance to save the bone is pretty big, you know, for a lot of people. I can imagine, you know, even lower levels with not that much money would try and do this. It's similar kind of in a way to the battle robes, if anybody remembers Fists of Gothics, where you would have to play for a while and it wasn't efficient really, you know, but you get to play a game for a while, and then once you got the battle robes, all your rune casts were basically half price. That was obviously before EOC, so that's kind of old news, but it's a similar thing. Then the fact that they get voted no for having it free after the Wilderness Elite Diaries, basically, I think that's a good idea. I think them bringing cash is the main point, really. I mean, a stack of noted bones is great, but I think they should still be bringing cash. It could be a reduced cost, I wouldn't mind that, but not free. This third question, I'm surprised it's not passing, because I do feel like a 60% chance isn't that OP. You know, they do need a reward of some kind for the Elite Diaries. However, the Wilderness Diaries are already very powerful, so I can understand voting no against it. So these questions are all kind of, they're fine. I kind of get this, you know, that they're not passing. Then we move on to the Major Arena Capes. So this is obviously as it was yesterday in the video. So the stats are still 15 accuracy, 15 major defense, basically. Pretty damn powerful. However, they have got the questions in that should it be possible to recharge the new capes by tracking down and killing one of the bosses rather than all three. I voted yes for that. That makes sense. That makes it a lot easier to reobtain, because in the video that I posted yesterday, I was worried that obviously clans would be able to get this because they can go and do it fairly safely together and back each other up, and then once they're together they're a lot, you know, less likely to die, so it's worthwhile getting. Whereas for a solo PK, because you're pretty damn likely to get killed by a clan, you know, at any given point in the world, it's not worth going through the effort to go and get. This does balance it a little bit more, so we'll see how that plays out, because it's obviously passing. Then this one, to allow them to have all three god capes, is interesting. Yeah, why not, really? And then the damage boost, I don't like this one. I voted no for this, but it is passing nonetheless. The accuracy is going to be huge anyway, and with the damage that you can already put out with Staff of the Dead and the Occult Necklace and so on and so forth, you'll be hitting huge hits with Ice Barrage, and the accuracy is going to be insane anyway. So basically, I don't see a reason to ever hybrid. You could just mage solidly if you're in maxed out gear, to be honest. Unless they're wearing the best mage defense, then sure. So Revenant Caves has passed. That's fantastic news. I really like that, as you may have been able to tell in my last video. I really enjoyed Revenant Caves. So that's great. And then we go on to the next few votes. So they want to have slightly different Slayer monsters. I think that's a pretty good idea. You know, they're the same creatures, but like Catacombs of Khorne, they will be slightly higher level, slightly different loots. I think that's a good idea. The next question is about whether Revenants should be added to the Wilderness Slayer task list. Also a brilliant idea. If you remember way back when, with the original Revenants, there were Revenants ranging from, I believe, about level 25 combat all the way to about 125 or 126. So you could just go in and kill like the imps basically and get some loot. So that was cool. So if the Revenant Caves are added to the game, it would have the chance to drop a Revenant bracelet. Again, I don't mind this. There used to be the Forinthry bracelet, which was a diamond bracelet that was enchanted, if I remember correctly, and that would protect you. Not many people used it unless they were solely killing the Revs. PKers didn't bother, really, because you just run in a big clan and you'd be fine with it. So next up we've got the chance to drop the teleport scroll. Again, this is to the lower entrance, so the 17-wheeled entrance, the south one of the Rev Caves. Again, this does not sound like a bad idea, and it will have some residual value, you know, that's always going to be nice. It'll probably be fairly cheap, depending on how rare it is, but it's pretty nice. So now we get onto the questions that are failing, considering the Revenant polls. Now these are dumb. Like this kind of looks to me like selfish voting, if you ask me. This looks like PVMers just absolutely wanting to shut down PvP, really. I've seen a lot of posts on Reddit about people voting no as a blanket just because they don't like PKers and they got PK'd whilst they were doing a task or something one time. You know, as always, everyone always says that is the risk of the wildy. That's the whole idea. There are meant to be PKers there. However, voting no to all of these and keeping the wildy dead is actually what's getting them killed more. If there were more solo PKers out there would be more cannon fodder for the clans. So you'd be less likely to be camped out at your spot because there'd be some random PKer like me running around in a clan chasing them. So if you bring back more players to the wilderness, you'll actually get PK'd less. As stupid as that sounds, it's probably going to be the case because there'll be fights going on over there and fights going on over there, and you might get left alone. You know, the way it used to work was, let's say I was PKing in the Rev Caves back in the day, I would come in with about 300k risk, maybe on my own, maybe with one or two guys, but I was never really with a big clan in there. And we'd run through and we'd attack someone who was risking basically 50k killing the Revenants in the hopes that they had some of the totems, I believe they used to be called, that Revenants dropped. So there would be like an ancient comb that was worth like 5k if you traded it into an NPC, and so on. And there was like a bronze tooth which was worth like 2,500 GP, and they had lots of these, and some were worth 50k, 75k, 100k, and then obviously after that it got to the PvP armors. So these items were great because they were single items. A player could wait for one of them and then run out. But what would happen is they'd be waiting for one that was about 300k, let's say, and if they had 4 or 5 of the ones that were worth 2,500 or 50k or whatever, then you'd appear and you'd kill them for maybe 250k worth of loot on top of what they were wearing. So that was great. But then obviously if a bigger clan turns up or somebody with higher risk, instead of focusing on the guy with, you know, very low risk but the potential to have some of these like totem drops, they would focus on us because we had risk. And so there is a dynamic there that will actually stop people who are just kind of PVMing in the wildy from getting attacked, you know, on such a regular basis, especially with the spread of locations. Anyway, so we'll move on to all of these drop rates. Now, people are just blanket voting no for these, clearly. They just don't want there to be interesting new items. The key is the one that's getting the closest, and again, as you've already heard me say a couple of times, I'm not really that keen on the key. It sounds interesting if you're in a clan. If you're solo, it sounds pointless. Somebody did point out, though, that if you just loot one key, you can pretty much pick up the kill and run, you know, straight away. So that could be good. You know, you wouldn't have to stand there for 30 seconds sorting out your inventory while you loot and all sorts and wait for other people to turn up. So there is potentially a benefit. If this gets released, I will try it both ways, for sure. And so now we move on to the loot. Now, this is all just failing. And what people don't realise is you can make something 2 mil an hour by making it drop gold ore and, you know, ridiculous amounts of pure essence if you want to go there or something like that. That's fine, but nobody's excited about that. Nobody's going to go there for that, you know. You need unique drop tables for these monsters, you know. The Revenants were annoying to kill. You need something that is, you know, once in a blue moon. Some guy's going to post to Reddit that he just got a Vesta longsword and it was like 26 mil, and he just ran. You know, some of the most exciting videos that there used to be was somebody getting a Vesta longsword and just sprinting as a clan just suddenly happened to log in. You know, it was just pure convenience. So these kind of things are much more interesting for Revenants. if you don't have them, Revenants are going to be released as dead content. I like almost guarantee it. If there's no uniques and nothing of extraordinarily high value, I'm talking like 27 mil. I know that's not extraordinary, but that's where the VLS seemed to kind of sit. It was like 27, 25 mil after a while. Nobody's going to go there. And so, yeah, I really think that this is a shame that people have voted against all of these PvP armors. They were fun, and you know, yes, they were OP, but hey, you can just choose not to fight someone with them. You know, I mean, if they're in deep wildy and they're just picking on you, yeah, okay, you've got to try and survive, fight back or run. But at edge, you can just say, nah, I'm not going to fight that, and just walk out. And you know that that player's taking a very, very big cost to fight you in that gear. So fair play, you know. I don't know what it would be in terms of getting it on the kill. So that would be interesting to find out. I'm assuming that it would be some kind of GP drop. However, there used to be a problem of, like, with Vesta and things like that. People would use it for, you know, 55 minutes or get close, and then they would die to their friend for it. And this would obviously drop the GP that it would have been worth to the friend. You know, regardless of how damaged it was. So it was kind of broken in that regard. You could kind of keep 80% of the money in the game that was kind of generated. So they'd have to work around that. You know, maybe it only dropped like 10% of its wealth, but you know, that could be bad. But maybe it would keep the armor pieces at, like, you know, 8 mil each, so you got 800k if one of the pieces dropped, let's say, you know. But yeah, so all in all, if these updates go like this, I think this Wildy Rejuvenation is going to be a fail. It really needs to be more focused on solo players, and the Revenant Caves, without unique drops and without staple little kind of totems that are exchanged for GP value, no one's going to want to go there. The whole idea was these small little loots, somebody would gather up a few and then they'd wait to get like a VLS if they were really lucky, or a Stasius Warhammer, or, you know, just a piece of the armor, and then they'd bank. So they would end up standing in the Wildy with a couple of items worth about 200-300k for a while. It made for very good PKing, and it was profitable, you know. And if you survived, great, you've made loads of money. So this drop table thing of, like, let's put ores on them and things like that is not going to work. You know, it's, why would you go there for stacks of ore? You know, it's really a stupid idea. Yeah, I really hope that people rethink this. I really think the state of this poll, I don't want any of this to be released. None of it sounds quite right yet, you know. It really, really needs rethinking. And I think, obviously, a lot of PVMers, they need to stop being so selfish about the PvP scene. Just because you got PK'd one time, if you don't like it, don't go in the Wildy. And if you don't like getting killed, maybe get better, you know. But, like, dying is part of the risk. If you buy 10 sets of what you're going to risk in the Wildy, it feels less painful when you die because you can just re-gear and go back. So, get used to it, basically. Yeah, or maybe there should be a limit on, you know, maybe these polls should be split into a PVM poll and a PvP poll, and maybe those polls should require a kill count. You know, maybe the PvP needs at least 200 kills in the wilderness, you know, of at least a certain value, if that was possible, you know, so that you don't end up people boosting with, like, one account with no risk and just killing it over and over and over to get access to the polls. And then maybe PVM polls could require a certain amount of boss kills. Yeah, because, I mean, we have a very, very selfish player base, quite a toxic player base. If you read Reddit, you can see, you know, how much people are raging about this, and I really don't appreciate the way a lot of PVMers are just blanket voting no. And I get that some of it are memes, but some people are genuinely doing that, and that's not right, you know. So we got to work together, PvPers. We got to come together. We got to start a proper discussion about the state of these updates and what we can really do. So you know, if you have any ideas, feel free to hit me up. But that's it for today. I still feel really passionate about this. I still don't think it's quite right, even after, you know, getting a bit more informed and reading the polls. So I thought I needed to make a second video about this. Anyway, that's it, guys. You have a good weekend. Bye.